Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan Rice. We are finally getting to the pros of kayak fishing. So on my previous con episodes of this whole playlist, I had a lot of people mention that a lot of my cons might not be cons for them. And I understand that. Everybody has their own opinion. You know, none of these are really like, none of the cons are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do kayak fishing. But I just want to bring up problems that I gave you solutions of how you can solve it. There's a lot of DIY things that you can do, and there's also things that you can purchase. Most of the things I showed you was items that I purchased just because I've been at this for a very long time. I'm an older gentleman, so I don't have the time like I used to really sit down and do a lot of my own projects to make things work. So it's just easier for me to buy the products. At the same time, when you spend the money on the good products, they will last you. Not saying the stuff that you do yourself or your own fixes don't last, but people who make these products have been in development and research for years, so they're really dialing it in, and they take a lot of the comments that we say on social media and put that into the product. So they're always looking for input from us. So trust me, when you guys comment on social media, they do take those comments and take that into research and development and come up with maybe a better version of something they already put out. Just getting back to when people saying that a lot of the things that I say were cons were not cons of them, I truly understand that. Like I said, none of these are cons to the point where I wanted to persuade you guys away from doing this, or saying it's just a horrible con that you don't want to do this, or it's not able to be fixed. So let's get into the pros, guys. So there's a lot of pros to kayak fishing. I'm sure I'm going to miss some. I'm just kind of did a brief overview of the things I think that are important. I'm a previous multiple boat owner and I love boats. I'm probably gonna get a boat down the line again, I'm sure, when my son gets a little older, because boats are fun too as well. But kayak fishing really draws my attention. I don't know why, because I could have a boat and just start an engine and go. But for some reason, kayak fishing, it just brings me in. It gives me a whole different feeling of that. And that's one of the pros. The way you feel being on the kayak, being on the water. It definitely, when you are in a bad mood, or if I'm in a bad mood, or I just need some time to be on the water and think about things in life, just being on the kayak just kind of like neutralizes my mind. I just enjoy taking in the atmosphere around me, seeing things from a different perspective than being on a boat when you're just flying by doing 80 miles per hour. Being on a kayak it clears your mind. At least it does for me, and I know it does for a lot of people. I do Heroes on the Water. There's a reason why Heroes on the Water started that whole thing, is because it's a way of healing. For a lot of veterans and first responders with PTSD or other mental disorders, I hate saying that, but other mental things, that being on the water in a kayak really helps them mentally, just to help with all their issues that they are dealing with. That's why I like to volunteer my time for that, and that's why I like to promote kayak fishing, because it is a way of healing. I kind of got off subject the way I really wanted to, but as a multiple boat owner, having a kayak is much, much cheaper. Yes, the amount of money I put into it is a lot of money, but I also have multiple kayaks. I have multiple motors. I got trailers, I got a whole bunch of stuff, but kayak fishing is a lot cheaper than owning a boat, just for the simple fact of maintenance, gas, towing the boat there, because you can throw a kayak in the back of your truck and it's really not affecting your fuel economy. So overall, just the fuel economy of having a kayak over a boat is substantial. The fuel alone in your boat is a lot of money. So having a kayak is a lot cheaper of a way to get out there. There's no real maintenance to having a kayak. Now, you have a lot of with the Hobie, you have rudders and cables that can snap or break, but they're easy to fix. You can buy the kits and do it yourself, or you can have somebody do it. But there's not much real maintenance to having a kayak. If you have just a standard kayak with no rudders or anything, it's just a piece of plastic. The only thing you can damage is the hull itself by hitting something or dropping it, or you have a bad mold from the factory and it cracks in half. That's a different story. But as far as maintenance with a kayak, all you really need to do is, I use that Aerospace 302 or 303 or whatever it is, and I spray that down every now and then. It just helps protect from the sun and clean it. That is it. That's the only maintenance you have to a kayak. And I know a lot of people who don't do anything to them for 10 years. They look like they've been through hell and back, but you know what? They still float. They get them on the water. It gets them to their fishing spot and they have a great time. So for them, those style of people, there's no maintenance whatsoever. So being I kind of jumped off subject, I did kind of cover being on a kayak over a boat as a pro, because you are moving slower. You're able to take in taking nature around you, taking the atmosphere. Kind of cover that already, but it's kind of jumped off my list. There's so many things that you see on a kayak that I normally wouldn't see on a boat, because you are moving so slow. You're going to see that bird that may be tucked back that you've never seen before, or a bald eagle that may be tucked back in the trees, because you're taking your time, you're looking around. You're going to see nature more than being on a boat doing 80 miles per hour. So you're really moving a lot slower. It's a better experience for most of us because we get to see things more than you would on a boat. I'm not really doing like 1, 2, 3, so we kind of covered 2 pros of that. Another pro is, it's not an actual boat with a motor. It's more enjoyable. It's less stressful because you're not worrying about something breaking down on you. Going to the boat ramps, not necessarily need to use a boat ramp with a kayak. You can just go park in your spot and you can launch off the side of the boat ramp. A lot of times that's what I do. Where I fish on Lake Marion, there's a boat ramp, but being on back to an enclosed trailer, it's like being in the back of my truck. I just put on a set of wheels and I just lay my kayak next to the boat ramp itself. So I'm not waiting in line for people on a boat ramp. I'm actually getting on the water faster than the people on the boats because they're waiting on the line. Somebody's holding up the boat ramp. I'm able to get my kayak down there, take my wheels back to the trailer, and I go walk back down literally 20 feet and I'm on the water and away I go. So it's a lot less stressful because you're not dealing with the boat ramps. You're not waiting on lines at the boat ramps, and you can basically launch a kayak from anywhere that you have foot access or you can drag your kayak back to. You don't necessarily have to go to a boat ramp. Now, if you're not competing in an event where you have to go to a public launch, you can go to your buddy's house who has property that may have a small pond. You might be able to drag your kayak through the woods or just pull literally right up next to the pond and get out there. So it's a lot less stressful and it's just easy to get to the water, and you're on the water and there's no worrying about your motor failing. You're just going out there and you're basically paddling, or using an electric motor. The only thing you have to worry about is that motor failing or the battery dying. But if you just do simple maintenance on those items, it's not really a problem. And you'll know when you're starting to have a problem. It just doesn't happen like that for most of the well-known motors out there. Another pro is you can fish, being that you can get anywhere, you can fish a lot of places that don't even have boat ramps. You can fish where boats can't even go because we can just paddle through, 6 inches of water or less, depending on your kayak. You can float over a bunch of weeds and get where those fish are really, really hiding back in the grass lines, and just that mix of just pads and everything else where boaters wouldn't go through because it's going to hang up on their motor, or their trolling motors are going to get stuck in that weeds. We can just paddle across that stuff and get back in that slop and find monsters. And it's just great being able to do that and not have to worry about things getting stuck in your motor or any of that stuff. And we can just get anywhere. Like I said, you don't even have to go to big bodies of water. You can just go to little bodies of water and just fish them and get out where instead of just being on the bank, get out where those fish may be if they're not on the bank. So we can fish anywhere. We can go places where boats cannot go. To me, that is one of the biggest pros of kayak fishing because it takes a lot of the waterways that you can't get to with a boat. You're able to explore so many new bodies of water that may just be hidden back in the woods that you can legally go to without trespassing and go fish these bodies of water that nobody else can get to. I think that's awesome. Speaking of motors on boats, being on a kayak, we are making a lot of less pollution. You are making a smaller carbon footprint. You're not running gasoline motors. Yes, there is gasoline. Like my new Canoe Unlimited, I can run a little 2.3 or 2.9, something like that, a little Honda horsepower engine that is gas. I can run that on my kayak, and there's a lot of canoes you can run gas motors on, but most people don't. They either run electric or they're just under manpower moving those kayaks around. So we're making a lot less pollution. We're leaving a smaller carbon footprint, and we are helping the environment long term. It's just a little bit, but we are helping that environment. So that's another pro kayak fishing. Another pro of kayak fishing is that you can take your standard kayak and you can make it the way you want to make it personally yours. You can do as elaborate or as simple as you want. And a lot of these things that we add, the accessories to the kayaks or the things that we build to put on our kayaks, that makes it super fun that you can build something yourself and make it yours. You can do that with boats, but we know a lot of times we don't want to drill a hole through the fiberglass of a $80,000, $100,000 boat. A lot of people don't even like to do that on a piece of plastic with their kayaks. But over time, when you do this enough, you realize that it's not hurting it if you do it right. But you can build your kayak the way you want it. It's a fun process. Every time I get a new kayak, it's like starting all over again. It's like a kid in a candy store. It's so fun. You just want to go through and grab all the accessories, or you have ideas in your head of ways that you're going to change this one up. Building your kayak is another pro of kayak fishing. You can do so many things, and you can do a lot of DIY stuff that makes it super, super fun. And when you get that out in the water and you test it and you realize it's something that you made or built or the way you wanted it works great, it's just a sense of satisfaction. It's enjoyment that you made this kayak the way you wanted it in your little DIY project, or you mix matching different accessories and making it something different than somebody else has, but it really works well for you. It's just fun. When you're out in that water and you're saying, wow, this rod holder works awesome. I wish I thought of this sooner, or anything else. So building your kayak up or building it out the way you want it is another pro, because it's just another step in getting into kayak fishing. It's just so fun. And just overall, it's just a great process of building your kayak and making it yours and just having a blast doing it. Another pro too, when you're on the water and you're getting ready to launch, I can't tell you how many people who own boats, just people on the bank, that are so curious. They come up to you and ask you about your kayak. A lot of people ask, how much does it cost? How much did you pay for it? Do you like it? All those things. But it strikes up a conversation with a stranger, somebody who never met before, and it just opens the doors for that conversation to have with these strangers. And a lot of times when you end up talking to these people, you get a new friend, or you get a new acquaintance that you may see them at that boat ramp again, because they just like hanging out there and watching people, launching the boats or making fun of them. You end up seeing those people again. I got this one guy, Wayne, who I see quite a bit at the one ramp I go to, and he just fishes off the bank and stuff like that, but he's always curious about what I'm fishing for, what event I'm fishing for, or am I fishing for fun? And we will talk for an hour, and he talks to me while I'm putting my gear away. But every time I see him, I say, he comes right over to me and we have great conversations, and he has a lot of great information, and he's very curious and very attentive when I'm talking to him. He's, it just, when you meet people randomly like that, you can have such great conversations, and you're introducing somebody new into kayak fishing that may never done it before. I can't tell you how many boaters have come up to me and told me, wow, that's a nice rig. Meanwhile, they're getting on a $100,000 boat. But at the same time, they say, wow, that'd be pretty cool to have one of those, right, Joe? So it's just like you can really spread the love for this sport just from you launching. Just that to me is another pro, because you are spreading the word, you're meeting new people, you're having great conversations with people, you're informing people what it's about, and you're helping other people make an informed decision if they want to get into this or not, just by having conversations with you. You'd be amazed how many people will ask questions to me, and the first thing they do is I've had people go to their truck and get a notepad to take down notes. I've even given my card to people so they could text me or call me and reach out to me after the fact, because I'm always looking to help people. And you guys can do that too. Not saying you have to give your phone number out to strangers, but you can have great conversations that keep spreading the word of kayak fishing. Just overall, kayak fishing is such a great sport, and most people who haven't done it yet may feel negative about it because of all the unknowns. That's why I wanted to do this playlist, to let people know of the cons that we may have kayak fishing, but the ways you can fix it, because I don't want people to get turned off by it. I don't want to get people to get turned off by some other people putting videos out there saying that kayak fishing is horrible, or people who come back that they know who got a kayak and said that was the worst purchase I've ever done, because they're not given enough time. They're not looking at videos or talking to people who are in this sport. They say, hey, if you're uncomfortable, try this. If you feel unsafe, do this, or get this kayak. Try different things. There is so many things, guys, that make kayak fishing great. I know I can't cover them all in this video, but another thing is too, bonding. If you have a bunch of buddies who don't have a lot of money and you guys all want to get on the water together, you guys can all get affordable kayaks and get out together, and it's a way to bond. It's a cheaper way of bonding than if you guys are trying to split a boat, or everybody trying to get a boat. So that kind of comes into the whole cheaper factor. Bond with new people that you met on the water. I mean, there's so many kayakers I meet on the water that want to come up and talk to me and get to know me. There's a few out there, I will say, that either just give you an attitude because you're bothering them. I can't say everybody's going to be nice on the water, but most people on the water want to talk to other kayakers. So it's another pro is it's a way to bond with strangers, with your buddies, getting out in the water, getting out with your family and bonding more. If you can't afford that boat, you can get 3 or 4 kayaks that are safe in a decent price range because they've come down a bit. I would say a good $1,500 kayak will make you feel safe on the water with your family, and you can all get out there. So if you get 3 or 4 of those, $4,500, $6,000, that's a lot cheaper than having the boat. I mean, a lot cheaper. I know there's so many other things out there that I could talk about, but I don't want to make this video super long. I just want to make this the last episode of my playlist this time around. I'm sure down the line I'll come up with some other cons or some other pros to talk about, but there's a lot of videos out there from a lot of other YouTubers talking about the pros of kayak fishing or the pros and the cons. I've done another video in the past where I've kind of captured both in a shorter version of a video. There's always going to be videos out there from a lot of us, but no matter what, not unless you always feel unsafe on a kayak fishing is one of the best, if not the best way of getting on the water, even if you don't go fishing. You will enjoy being on a kayak over a boat any day of the week. I can promise you that. I know kayak fishing and kayaking is for, I guess I would say, a different type of person, but I can tell you right now, people that have never been on a kayak before, I've taken them out and they loved it. Never thought they would be the type, if you want to stereotype, or the people who kayak fish. There's those people out there you look at and you say, yeah, they'll never go on a kayak. I've taken those people out before, and once their butts got in the kayak and they went out with me, they absolutely loved it. They loved being on the water, seeing nature, seeing all these great things, and it just changes people's mind. So if you can get people on the water on a kayak, try to do it. Introduce more people into kayak fishing and kayaking in general. They will love it, I can promise you. I know this video was kind of all over the place. If you guys been following me long enough, you know that's how I talk, because random things pop into my head even when I write my list. That's my top pros of kayak fishing. I hope you guys like this video. All these videos that all of us put out on YouTube, a lot of this is opinions. My con could be somebody else's pro. My pro could be somebody else's con. So this is all opinions. We are all just trying to inform everybody out there, whether you're a veteran kayaker or a new kayaker or somebody who's trying to get into the sport. We're just trying to help inform you, educate you guys out there to make the right decision. But I can tell you right now, not unless you hate being out in the sun and being on the water, I can't help you with that. You will like kayak fishing, trust me. So as always, guys, I appreciate all of you. Drop a comment, hit that thumbs up. I'll catch you guys soon. So as always, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you on the water. Thanks for watching.